Welcome. So I thought it would be good to talk about the ways that you can quickly update your professional presence. So here's the takeaway for today. You can get attention by being seen as providing value. Just seeing changes will get you some attention. So we'll start with, there's nothing new to do, really? I get that all the time. Then we're going to talk about what building and expanding your visibility really means in terms of things that you can actually do. And as always in Mentor Time, I leave you with what should you do? And first, either in the chat or if you want to open Slido and just take this very quick poll. Do you have something in your professional presence that you want to change before you start 2025? Yes, no, I was thinking about it. Any other things you want to write in the chat, that's great. But just curious about whether you were even thinking about it before this topic came along. And some people don't feel they need to make a change or don't have time to. So let me hear from you in the chat. Let me see a poll from you. That's great. No, you don't have something you want to change. That's perfect. Some people are saying yes. I will say in the chat, I was thinking about a change for the last year. All right. Anyone else want to contribute? Thank you for the people who did take the poll. Yes, it looks like no is winning. Okay, nothing you want to change. That's fine. Let's talk about there's nothing new to do. I get all the time these kinds of things. Sue, I just updated my LinkedIn profile. Some of you who I've known for a long time know I look at it and think, I remember when she had that a while ago. I have someone very famous who charges a lot of money for her work, and she's had the same picture for 8 or 9 years, her profile picture. She should know better. This is the other thing we hear all the time. I don't have time for social media, and everything gets grouped in social media, whether it's personally fun, professionally needed, or somewhere in between. And this is probably the most frequent thing that people tell me. Sue, nothing's really changed, so why should I update it? And the nothing's really changed is something that we'll talk about. Not I think, I know we'll be talking about it today. I want to open your minds for the way in which we can build and expand your visibility. All of you have been here with me, with Ron, in various ways in the different Sue Mentors offerings. So some of these won't be new, but I'm going to ask you to think about them in a new way or rethink. Is it a rethink if you weren't thinking about it and now I'm telling you? Remember that you used to know about it once upon a time. Maybe I mentioned it in the course or in Mentor Time. So this part has two major sections. So let's go through the first, the new you, and this is online. Will you just tell me in the chat briefly, what do you think you can do to add value right now to your professional presence? Maybe the people who said yes, there's something they want to change, maybe something they didn't make time for. That's me. Maybe you don't have anything that you really think will add any more value than what you've already done. Okay. Promote my organization's works, articles more. That's great. Contribute more perspectives through writing articles and posts. Yes, exactly. That's great. Those are exactly how you can add value in a way that gets you seen. And both of those things have longevity. They stick around on your profile, especially in LinkedIn. Much of what I'll start with initially will be LinkedIn because there are some easy places here. I want to remind you of two aspects of LinkedIn, one aspect of LinkedIn and one that I talked about probably several weeks ago with a presentation. LinkedIn has various places that we identify as real estate. So the real estate value of certain places on LinkedIn is it gets you noticed. It's a place you can put something to add more information, excuse me, such as your banner photo, Or also, it has real estate for things that people will be looking for. So think not so much your activity section, but your experience section. They expect to find information about you there. The second thing I want to emphasize, and I've talked about this before, is credibility cues. Those are the cues, the things that people see in their minds, in their eye as they're glancing. Overall, we have these on our resumes, our CVs, we have these in our emails, and you have them on LinkedIn and other platforms. What are those credibility cues? So the credibility cues are the places probably the things you'll be writing or showing that are in these online real estate. My big one that I always love to tell people about is name record. And many of you on here have already done this, but I challenge you to go forward and add some personality, add a tagline to your 10 seconds. Now that you've done it, now that you feel like you know what you're doing at your job, now that you're more comfortable just having your voice out there, because I was really amazed. I've always wondered who's using name record, and I'm seeing more people using it, both the people who do it during the course in step 4, as well as people that are asking me for connections. But there's also, I thought, a fair amount of people who aren't using it. John Aspirian wrote a post a couple weeks ago. He's a very big LinkedIn trainer expert in the UK. He's a real data nerd, geek, stats person trying things out. If you've ever looked at his website, he has pictures of himself in a lab coat, pictures of himself with a magnifying glass. He said, while doing a large-scale disconnection experiment, looking at thousands of LinkedIn profiles, and he has 45,672 followers right now. He estimates only 5% of his connections have audio pronunciation next to their name field. Surprised me because he runs a very large membership group called Espresso Plus. He also has Espresso General group on LinkedIn. Surprised me that so few people connected to John wouldn't have that there. What does that say to you? What it says to me is there's still an opportunity to have that little megaphone next to my name to show people that I have my name pronunciation. Remember, that adds a second dimension to you. People can hear you. People can now identify more with you, especially people who you haven't been on video with, for example. All right, the second of these, and you'll see all these at the end as well. The second of these is think about refreshing your headline to what you are now. A couple of you said, I need to promote work more, I need to write more articles. Take credit for things that you're now doing differently. For example, Mary, I'm going to use you as an example. You're writing for higher ed now. You're writing for a different kind. You were in a university situation writing about research and other things. Now you're writing about how and in what way can higher ed be facilitated. That might be part of your revised headline. Just an opportunity to show how your work and your results have increased. And if you've forgotten about the formula for a headline, not to worry, it's still 220 characters, I believe. In step 4, you can go and find there's a little instruction thing, or you can search for Brenda Meller, M-E-L-E-R, and headline formula. She talks about different ways to break it down. And so she's the one I reference in step 4 for that. Number 3, change your banner. I've been going to do this for over a year because a banner is your real estate to show what you do. I have a long list of banners from people in the course and a few other examples that I tell people you can look at if you want the list, to use either one of the standard LinkedIn banners, a Canva banner, and I want to show you that I finished this slideshow before a 2 o'clock meeting. And between 3 and 3:30, I actually sat down and changed my banner. It took me 10 minutes, and for a year I haven't done it. Is it very different? No, it's mostly the same. I have a presentation I did a few years ago about things that mentees want from mentors, and these are two of the biggest. So now I've got my mirror back again with a newer picture of me, and it makes me feel better that I did it. But I also want to say I fight with Canva, but this wasn't hard to do in Canva because they have the size for you. Think about changing your banner, and I'm waiting to see who emails me and says, "Oh, I see you changed your banner, Sue." All right, on to number 4. Your about section is a little snapshot of you because you only get the first 3 lines, as we have discussed often. This is something I need to change. I don't like the second sentence anymore. I've actually rewritten it for a bio for speaking that I sent in a few weeks ago. But think about whether or not you're conveying the value that you bring, the evidence that you bring, and you may want to update it. Many of you have asked me about this first person versus third person on LinkedIn in the About section, and I always say just get it up there at the end of the course if you're in step 4. Get your bio para up there. But this may be a time that you want to think about taking more advice from LinkedIn experts who want things written in first person. Now, I work globally, and many of you work globally and with global audiences who aren't so oriented to it needing to be written in the first person. I'm just happy to have it filled in from all of you with your taking your brilliant selves forward. The other part of real estate about the About section is something that they added about a year ago, and that is the ability to add your top 5 skills. This is an important credibility cue. It immediately shows people, since the About section's been elevated back under our names again, it's up high. Those immediately say, here are the top things that Peter brings, and it's your chance to get free advertisement. Not only does it show up in searches, because these have to be skills that are in your skills list, but this is you're saying, here's what Peter's unique area is with his little bit of his description up top. I wish someone would be able to do, and no one can do this unless they're at LinkedIn, but it'd be nice if we could ever understand how many people click see more and actually look at the rest of the stuff we write in that long section. So that's number 4. And number 5 was on my list for this year, and I actually got it done just before I finished the slideshow today. I reorganized and added more up-to-date things to my featured section. The featured section can be very long. You can put so many things in here. If you've done videos, been on a panel, are interviewed, if you record your own videos, you can now, the way they've got it set up, LinkedIn changed about 6 or 8 months ago, you can actually add a link. So the 3 things showing all have, when you open it up from my featured section, you'll open up a card that has, for example, turning tasks into accomplishments. It'll say view, and it takes you right to the YouTube. So that's another way that you show these. Again, this is showing your expertise. It's adding color because we all like to have photos now. It used to be featured section was I wrote this article in JAMA, or I wrote this article on a blog, and there wasn't much in the way of having photos with those things. Now there's much more. So use it to show your expertise for all kinds of things. If you're having trouble figuring it out, and someone reached out to me today about that because she's doing step 4, let me know, and I'll either record you a little message or we'll get on a quick chat and I'll help you figure out how to have some interesting information. LinkedIn makes a lot of opportunities available in terms of the things that you can put in there, not just videos. So please use that to showcase, even if you've already written a post about something new. For example, Hiram just wrote I think it was the 3rd of a series on work he's doing. Put it up on your featured section. You can move it out later when you want to replace it with something else, but it's a great way to attract people to longevity, because our posts start to disappear pretty quickly. So that was the first part, online platforms. And I'm going to do 5 things for what I'm calling messaging, or setting a new tone. because this is another area where you can boost your professional presence with not much effort. As we start, I want to know from you in the chat box, how often do you initiate messaging with someone in your network? And you can use network on whatever platform or however many platforms you think about it. Not in your workday, but just getting in touch with someone and making more than making a connection and writing a thank you message. I would say I admit I've not been good about this. I wrote that I maybe do it once a week just by happenstance. I don't make a deliberate effort at it. Thank you several times a month. Seldom. Yep, I get that. Me too. Weekly is more the norm. All right, we had some other people with goals to publish an article and add skills, and yes, during busy times, monthly, usually weekly. That's great if you've got a routine. All right, so let's go through our fives here. And again, we had a couple people joining us later. Most of this you all have heard in some fashion in the professional presence course, in mentor time, sometimes in office hours. But we forget sometimes the power of email. It's what's called a push technology, meaning it comes to you. Going to LinkedIn, going to Instagram is a pull technology, meaning we have to be pulled there. That's why I think we've probably seen a resurgence in the last 2 years from people saying, I don't use email anymore, to everybody uses it. How many messages did you get today about Cyber Monday? I can't tell you how much I had to delete today, and it's still coming in. All right, enough on email that I don't want. Remember that you can do updates by group email, and you can also do individual updates. And what's good about this? What month are we in now? December, right? It's the end of the calendar year for many of us around the world. This is a great time to say, just thinking of you, wanted to update you on my year. Or you don't need what I call a seminal event. You don't need, I got a job, I published an article, I won an award. Those are big things. And you don't think about writing a group email just to say hi, but maybe this would be to what I think of as your second circle of connections, people who know you, but you don't keep in touch with all the time. So don't feel bad about that. In fact, all of you you'll all be on the list for an email. I usually send out an email at the end of every year about mentoring to everybody who I've worked with. So just in advance notice, you'll be getting it. So group email could be done. And if you have time and there's something you want to convey, this is also a good time to let a person that was important to you for some reason to your career, let them know why and how you're doing and what you've done with, for example, if they wrote you a reference letter, or if you ran into them at a conference a year ago and you changed your career because of that. Or maybe it was just you're so glad to reconnect with someone. And then there's really old-fashioned mail, but this is the time we get cards in the mail in the US for holiday cards. Writing letters. I've just started a very big milestone year for me, so I'm writing letters to key people that have been part of them, and I realized I couldn't do them all the week before my birthday, so I'm writing them all year long. So think about the power of a letter. Most of us rarely get letters in the mail anymore in the US. I can speak for myself and our kids and friends and all of that. We don't take the time to write and don't necessarily need to. So it makes you stand out and people will remember it. There's someone on this call that writes me wonderful letters every year, and I always appreciate it. Oh, thanks. I missed this. Ron was talking about doing things in WhatsApp and other Meta products. But yes, WhatsApp is a messaging platform that's great, less so in LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be LinkedIn. You can do it in whatever messaging service you want to use, but just use it as a way to acknowledge someone who will remember that you took that time. You don't have to, that's the beauty of text and short messaging and WhatsApp. You don't have to write 2 pages, although some people do. All right, number 3, there are things that are happening in person. People are going to networking events, but also there's not necessarily holiday parties, but there's gatherings, end of the year gatherings. There was a big thing in DC. December 1st is always AIDS awareness, and it was the first time the AIDS quilt was put on the White House lawn. So there were big gatherings around it. I saw them advertised. But when you go, be your unusual self, be memorable. Now, how you say? There's a variety of ways to be memorable. If you're an introvert, practice your extrovert things. Wear something bright, for example. You may want to practice the way in which you're going to introduce yourself, but you can be memorable by being engaged. And this in person, and we'll be talking about it again in online. When you do this, people will remember you. This is why when I travel, I take pom-poms with me. My husband thinks it's a riot that I've traveled pom-poms and I go places to meet people, not just to see the national parks. I do both. But people remember Sue came with her pom-poms. Now that's associated with me. You don't have to have pom-poms. Maybe Christmas is your thing and you like to wear a beautiful Christmas sweater or an ugly one. Or maybe you have those light up earrings, or it could be that you love another holiday, something that people may associate with you. My godson loves elephants. So I always associate that with him, and that instantly gives me something to think about when I'm traveling. Oh, would he like this? Maybe who knows? I know. I had an assistant who worked with me who was a dog rescuer, and she had just a little pin that she would wear, but it had a dog on it, and it always made people ask her questions about, Lan, what do you do? I see you have a dog there. Is that some special society you're belonging to? And she said, yes, I'm a rescuer. So you can be memorable in very interesting ways and stand out. My opportunity for you is in audio and video events. Take advantage of if they'll let you do an introduction verbally, and if they don't, in the chat box. Many of you know what a proponent of chat boxes I am. Put yourself out there. But this is your chance to perfect a 1-sentence intro, which we all need to be able to do and all could do better. And I'm going to ask you finally in this section of messaging, say yes to opportunities, because every day into December we go, more people are getting busy. Fewer people are going to be on LinkedIn and other platforms. And so there's more chance for you to be seen and noticed. I say get known and noticed, be seen and see. So you have more opportunities during this holiday season. It's similar to oftentimes on Sunday, someone will get on LinkedIn and say, who's on LinkedIn this morning? Similarly, during this big holiday season around the world, whether you celebrate Christmas or festive season, I learned to call it that in Africa, mid-December to mid-January, slowing things down for a variety of reasons. So think about where and how you want to participate and be open to opportunities. Comment on things, attend webinars you may not have time to attend otherwise. All right, we're almost through. What are you going to do? So we talked about online platforms, LinkedIn, name record, headline refresh, change your banner, the about section, and adding color to your featured section. And if you use Insta for Business or other platforms that I haven't mentioned, similarly, think about refreshing the things that are one-time changes that get you known and noticed for being up to date. And then the things that you can do in messaging. emails, group emails or individual, cards and letters with mail if you want to mail something, show up in an unusual way when you are in person. Online, you can perfect your one-sentence intro, which is a good challenge for all of us, including me, and open yourself up for opportunities. So I'm going to ask you to take a couple seconds, couple minutes to reflect on this, and then put in the chat for me, or if you would like, unmute and tell me what 2 things do you think you want to do. And if you don't have 2, that's fine. If you have more than 2, you don't need to tell me all of them, but I'm curious about how and in what way this might have sparked some movement for all of you.
Just a quick one from me, Sue.
Yeah.
It's funny because I like my profile picture. It's become a bit of a trademark, and so I was sitting back and saying, "Okay, it's a trademark, and I like it." And then it occurred to me as you're going through it, and I said, maybe I can make another one which keeps the trademark but refreshes it. And so there. So anyway, so it's pushed me off of my arrogance and thinking, oh well, that's a good enough picture. I like it. It's a trademark, and maybe I can just refresh it and so on. So thank you for that idea. Secondly, having to do with email, it's interesting how a lot of people think emails are a dead technology. And clearly it's not. Newsletters and the like are all really important ways of communicating. And so, yeah, those things are still really valid.
Thank you for that. Anybody else want to unmute or tell me in the chat what you want to do? Mary, go ahead.
So I already, Sue, this is so great. And I know I haven't been able to join for a while. And I guess I was, not that I was a mind reader at all, but you just talking about showing up for things like this, that resonates with me today. So I want to refresh my headline because I think I still have language from my last job that maybe I tweaked a little bit. I did adjust my top 5 skills just while we were here in this session, but I'll take another look at that just for starters. But these are all great tips and appreciate your advice today and always.
Thanks. That's great, Mary. Thank you. Other volunteers? All right, we've got attending more virtual events and saying yes to more opportunities. Thank you, Hiram. That's great. If you can, I know you're squeezed for time, and I said to someone, I talked to another mentor a few weeks ago, in the last year, we have the number of webinars and in-person events has just probably tripled or quadrupled what it was since before the pandemic. We didn't have video as much available. So any intent that you have is great to make these things happen. And I love that both of you are saying yes to more opportunities.
I wrote down a bunch of things,
Okay.
but 2 that I'll say is I want to look at rewriting my about section, especially now that I've started doing some instruction and teaching. And then also I want to add in the top skills. I don't really have that there. I looked at my profile, so I want to add some of that in.
Oh, perfect. That's great, Peter. And Chelsea's going to take the time in December to send connection messages to people she's connected to already for a goal she has for the spring. So that's great, Chelsea. So glad. Good. Lots of people seem to agree with that. They like what you said. Anyone else want to unmute or put in the chat? I will send this out to you all so you have it. If you want reminders of it. The takeaway of today is you can do some minor changes and you can do things just once and you will get more attention than you realize. I think it's like they talk about it. I feel like I'm talking like a teenager. Yeah. When people are going to sell their house, the real estate agent first looks at curb appeal, right? If the outside doesn't look good, they're not going to come in the inside. The things you all are talking about are things that are going to be mostly one-time changes or a slight change in habits. That's what I'm going for, things that don't take a lot of effort for us to do. Any last comments or questions or anything else you want to share? This is your time before Ron closes the meeting. You all have been good, active contributors, so I will ask Ron if you will close the meeting for us today.
Yeah, thanks on everyone for, this was a good group, and thank you, Sue. It's funny, we were talking earlier that this is something that you have done before in terms of presentation. I think this was a new take on it. So thank you, Sue, for the efforts you did on that. I think all of us got something out of it. So thank you. This is my weak spot. So even I have lots to learn here. So I give a special thank you from me as well. So look forward to seeing everyone at our next mentor time. I was looking at my schedule trying to find it, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to pass that back to you.
It's 2 weeks from today. I moved it to the 17th because I'm traveling next week. And we're going to end the year doing our quarterly update on what's been changing in work. It's definitely going to be 45 minutes. I have been amazed at the amount of information coming out that's going to be talking about remote work. Interesting also about where other work is being reprogrammed through automation. So I think you'll find it, hopefully, as always each quarter, illuminating about how fast things are moving with the way in which your careers are adapting almost daily sometimes to a changing time in work. Yeah, I've already started the PowerPoint for that because there's so much to put in there for you all. That'll be definitely one of the lean backs and just listen and take works for you. Thanks for everybody. I'm glad you feel inspired, Mary. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for being interactive participants, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Sue. Bye, everybody.